Yeah. Good morning. This is Monica Peters. This is the Prosperity, Livability, and Safety meeting for January. And first of all, I want to tell everybody Happy New Year. 2026 is going to be awesome. And I invited several guests because I know this has been a very important topic for a lot of people. It's the update on the RAISE grant and our urban greenway that we're all super excited about. So today we have Dr. Patrick Harmon, Councilmember Harmon, with us. Councilwoman Vicki McKeever is on her way, but since we don't have a vote and this is presentation only, we'll go ahead and get started. All right, Greg Venable, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Greg Venable, Transportation Director for the City of High Point, and I have Andrew Edmonds here with us. He's our Transportation Planning Administrator for the City of High Point and the High Point MPO. We're going to give an update on the, as you mentioned, the RAISE grant project, also known as High Point on the Rise, or the Elm Street and Greenway project as well, several names there. I'm going to give you just a kind of a brief history on the project, and then I'm going to turn it over to Andrew and let him kind of give more details on where we stand and kind of where we're going from this point forward. We applied for the RAISE grant back in July of 2021. Us, along with NCDOT, partnered together and applied. We were awarded in November of 2021, and when we were awarded, it was kind of one of those, oh great, we were awarded, and then we're like, uh-oh, we were awarded, right? Because there's a ton of work, any kind of federally funded project, there's a ton of work that goes into it, right? So a lot of federal oversight, a lot of reporting, aside from the project itself. So it's a big task. So from that time, from when we were awarded in 2021, we did not get a notice to proceed from Federal Highway Administration and USDOT until February of 2023. So it's about a 15-month time frame. So we couldn't do any work on the project up until that point, until we got that notice to proceed. So that kind of, shortened our time frame there. We had an obligation window originally with the original grant application. The obligation to construct the project, actually what that means is to actually have it ready for construction, right? So we had to have everything ready to go for construction by September of 2024. And we couldn't do any work on the project up until that point. So, that date was, we knew that was coming up quick. We had to get everything in order, and even without that delay from Federal Highway, it was going to be a difficult task to meet that deadline. Fortunately, Federal Highway Administration heard from other applicants and recipients, and they decided to extend that obligation deadline to September of 2027. So I kind of talk about that, and you say things take an act of Congress. Well, it really did take an act of Congress to have that happen. So Congress had to approve extending that deadline, which they did, and much to our delight on that as well. So also with the project, once you get into start doing the design work and everything like that, there's strict requirements from Federal Highway Administration. So you can't make any changes, really minor things, utility relocation, things like that, small design changes, alignment changes, but for the most part, you can't modify the design when you get into the project. So, and also there's, you can't really add anything to the project either. So anything like any decorative features or public art, they're really not allowed. That's not to say that those can't be incorporated later, but from a federal perspective, you can't add those things to the projects as you're going through them. So, and I kind of, this time frame, I relate that to like a football analogy, right? So we're basically down by 7 with a minute to go or less, right? And so we need to score to win the game, and we've got to go for 2. So when we go through this, luckily for us, we have Tom Brady, right? So he's sitting right here, Andrew Edmonds. So we have Tom Brady for us. We give him the ball, and we don't have to worry about it. No, I'm just kidding. But really, Andrew has been involved since day one. He was included. He helped look after the city's interest when we were going through the application process. He did a lot of work for that with NCDOT. He's been project manager, all the federal requirements, federal reporting, getting the agreements in place. Just the knowledge of the project in general, he is the one to go to. So with that said, he's going to get into a little more detail on some of these items in the project, talking about Elm Street and the Greenway portion. And yeah, if there's any questions, we'll be here afterwards. Any public has any questions after the meeting, we'd be glad to stay after and answer those. So With that said, I'll turn it over to Tom.
Before you turn it over, before you turn it over, Greg, can I make
Yes.
one quick comment? Because I'm sure yours, like when you're talking about street design, the transportation engineers are very specific and it's very, so, because you said something about it doesn't include public art. I just want people to know that that's for the engineering of the actual roadway. We are going to be engaged with public art.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. I just wanted to kind of make that.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Greg is too nice to me. I'm definitely not Tom. And luckily, yeah, he fumbled the ball. But luckily, too, I've had great support on the project, members of staff, people here in the room, Southwest Renewal Foundation. They've been instrumental in getting the project preliminary concepts delivered. They had the vision for the project, and they were instrumental in getting the project awarded, so I would like to thank them for their effort as well. Members of the community have been great support for getting this project off the ground, and it's now our responsibility to get it delivered, so we're eager to do that for the community. As Greg mentioned, I'll give just one slide of history, then we'll actually get into the project. We were awarded a $19.8 million project from the federal government. It includes about a $9 million commitment from the city and community partners. So altogether, we're looking at about $28 million. The greenway itself, as well as the streetscape on Elm Street, it would create a 4.8-mile urban connection from Armstrong Park up to the north of the map, where you kind of see the yellow, that's down Cubane. I've worked here too long. And then it connects into Elm Street, which will be the streetscape through the downtown core along the Catalyst District. And then it will connect into the communities that you see in blue, serving the Southwest High Point area. Altogether, it will create about a 16-mile continuous corridor all the way up to Greensboro, creating that connection through High Point to our surrounding communities. And one of the best benefits of the project is it serves areas that really need non-highway connections to either work, live, or play. A lot of this community is communities that are areas of poverty, or they are communities without cars. So this serves a great connection to the transit connection at the mass transit hub for both local and regional transit service. It serves to the hospital as well as community assets like the library and the Children's Museum. So it's a great project. Greg kind of touched on it early on. We had some challenges where we received the grant and then we had to wait until Feds told us, you can work on this. So once we did, we got a great consultant on board, Alta. They had worked with Southwest Renewal on several of their projects in the past, so they're very familiar with this project. They were also instrumental in the conceptual design, so it's great for them to see it through delivery. Once we got going on it, we had that initial issue with the obligation period being so soon. So we developed two alternatives in case when you were working with a railroad property, there's a lot of risks that come with that. If a rail corridor wasn't willing to work with the city, we wanted to develop an alternative in case we had to go through an alternative to deliver that project. As we'll step through here, luckily, we've had great dialogue with the railroad, so we don't think that we will need alternate concept at all. We worked up to about a 35% design on that alternate, and then we dropped it. We're pretty confident that the railroad will work with us. Here's an update on our milestones achieved to date. Elm Street is now at 100% design, and we've received a NEPA document. That's our environmental protection document that you have to certify you're okay, and then you can start on right-of-way acquisition with those two things in hand. We are nearing that for the Southwest Greenway portion of the project. We just had a meeting with one of the historical properties in December, and with that was our final thing to check off that list before Federal Highway will review and approve that. So we're awaiting that currently. It should be delivered at any point right now. So we've had a public information about the project in general early in its life cycle. We will have another one regarding the Southwest Greenway as we continue on design before we have final design. We want to make sure that that was fully visioned out so we can share with the public what the concepts were for that before we come to them. So that will be upcoming very soon once we have those designs in hand. And as mentioned, we've had great dialogue with the railroad. This will kind of show you what we're thinking will happen with the railroad. They have a process called rail banking. This allows the public use of any abandoned or inactive rail service, even if there's not rails in the ground, if it's just, hey, we have a claim to this property. They do not want to give that property up. They want to kind of give it to you for use. They'll sell it to you for use, but they have a right that if they ever need that property in the future, they could still utilize that. This is very common for greenways across the nation. This is kind of the modus operandi for that. There is a 6 to 8 month review process for this that goes in front of the Surface Transportation Board, but we've discussed this with the rail companies. We have a good trajectory there. So, in the city, as we said, the city needs I haven't mentioned this. The next step for us to continue to work with the railroad company is for us to achieve acquisition rights, for us to say, hey, here's an offer letter to the rail company. In order to do that, we have to receive that NEPA document and the 90% designs for the state and federal highway to say, you're okay to offer a letter to the railroad company. So that is upcoming very soon. I touched on this a little bit early. Sorry, I'm talking out of my slide order. Fortunately, we are negotiating with them, so we don't anticipate any risk inherent with this. Currently, we think we're on a great trajectory. We've dropped that alternate route that we were designing. Upcoming milestones, we are currently in the process of getting together some change orders to work on the next steps of design, finishing that out. And it will also include change orders for us to begin the right-of-way acquisition period. Council, this will be brought to you in the next month. As well as the submittal of the Greenway portion of the NEPA. As soon as we receive that, hopefully before February, we will submit that for review immediately. And then we will begin on the right-of-way process. We anticipate that to last about a year. So you see that April 2027 process, and then we will be going out to bid solicitation in either spring or summer. These are estimated dates based on our current trajectory. As Greg mentioned, that critical period for us to hit for the grant is September 2027. We're on a good path to achieve that. We're moving forward on that. So. The next few slides are kind of just conceptual slides for you to see some of the early design work as well as some of the wayfinding elements that were built into the grant proposal. You can see here we've worked with our marketing department, and I believe one of our council members might have been in consult with this as well during this, right after the city branding process. We wanted to bring some of those city branding ideas over into the wayfinding as well. It was important to our Parks and Recreation Department to have elements that are similar yet distinct within our Parks and Recreation facilities, areas that will say, hey, you're in Southwest Renewal Foundation, but it's still identifiable to the city as well. So this is early preliminary wayfinding concepts. You can see some large marquees over to the right, even down to what you see in the top left corner are elements that can be added to the trail itself down at your feet. So you can see, I believe that's right. That was presented to us at one point. If that's not it, I can't see you too well. But there are different concepts here for us to make it context appropriate to where you are within the trail.
Andrew, do you mind if I
Yes,
make
ma'am.
a comment real quick?
Yeah.
Also, I want folks to know, because I know I've got a real artsy crowd here, and I'm super excited because I love our creatives. But I talked to some other staff members, and, we need some consistency throughout the entire city. So some of these wayfinding will be like branding, but there's lots of opportunity,
Yes.
especially in that southwest corridor, for the creatives to add some really cool stuff, like through some public art. So I just wanted to make sure I said that.
Yeah, definitely. There are very much opportunities for non-participatory costs to this grant,
Absolutely.
but things that will show you, hey, you're in the mill district, you're in the small manufacturing area, like make it really context sensitive to where you are within the city and celebrate the artisans that are
Yeah.
living within those communities. So,
But I love our branding. I think consistency
Sure.
is good. So thank
yeah,
you. Sorry.
absolutely. And we've also included some cut sheets from our designs. This is here Elm in English, showing you some of the streetscape elements. This large landscape buffer in the median where you're coming up to English Road. East to west is Elm Street. And then this is at Church in Elm Street as well. You can see we've included some areas for on-street parking, really beautifying the area by having some nice landscaped elements. Unfortunately, our Elm Street cut sheets aren't delivered yet for the Southwest Greenway. Those are coming with the next submittal. So you see the roadway profiles, which you don't want to see for a greenway. You want to see the beautiful, lush landscape designs. But this will show you some of the safety treatments. This is a mid-block crossing going to 300 Oak Street, where we have Sally the Troll in the city's project at 300 Oak. We will have what are called rectangular rapid flashing beacons here to make sure that motorists coming through know, hey, this is a pedestrian crossing, a greenway. Watch out for pedestrian activity. And this is kind of showing you some of the off-road designs. What you see here is Cassell to the this will be Cassell to the north on the left. And then as you're coming south to the wetlands area down towards Goldston Park, you can see that it's kind of a winding curve going with the terrain, but also it's allowing you to kind of feel like you're in nature away from the road. You're not on a straight path. You're enjoying being out in nature. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions from the committee?
I have a couple.
Yes.
So the right-of-way acquisition is, how many property owners are we talking about for I guess for the Greenway? A roundabout, and then is there a cost associated with it? I'm a property owner, the city wants some right-of-way, and I'm like, I want some money.
Yes, those costs are budgeted within the project. I believe it's, these aren't definite numbers going off my bad memory. About 90 property owners within the Southwest Greenway portion, about 30 on Elm Street.
Yeah.
So it's quite a lot of people to work with, but we are working on getting several different companies on board under our primary sub to quickly move on those, have the resources available.
What happens if somebody doesn't grant the right-of-way?
Sure.
Well, there are tools available. Good morning, Damon Duquesne, Assistant City Manager. Madam Chair, members of the committee. There are other vehicles, available if someone doesn't, but we would be reluctant, I would say, at best, at the least, to try and bring like a condemnation forward for something like this. Staff will find a way to work that out with the property owner that's reasonable. And I think the city has a strong history of acquiring property without having to go through any type of condemnation process.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Give me a minute, I'll think of one. I've got got lots, I'm just trying to fit them all in.
And two
So-
is, we mentioned we will be around after to talk to the public. And
Yeah, okay, good.
If
good.
you think of a question off record, we're happy to answer them.
Okay, all right. I just want to make this isn't really as much of a question as a comment, but, you know, being on that, I'm on the Transportation Advisory Committee, and being on that committee, I've learned a lot about transportation, even more than I've known in the 8 years that I've been on council, about the difficulties that that arise, and with the railroad. But I will have to give kudos to our Assistant Manager, Damon DeCane, when he met with the Vice President of Government Affairs from Norfolk Southern, and you did a really great job. So I think that we are ahead of the curve from other municipalities, because it's a hard thing to work with. So I know that it seems like it's been forever, but I feel really super great. And I know that 2026 is going to be a great year of acquisitions, and I feel really good about where staff has gone with this. So that's all I've got. So,
I do have a question.
okay, good.
So I believe you mentioned, I want to make sure I heard it correctly, that we can purchase the property. However, at a later date, if the owner says that they want to use that for something else, they can?
That was specific to the rail company. That's the process that we were talking about called rail banking. It's specific to if they have a rail line that's been inactive and you want to purchase it, they'll hold on to a specific right to, if they ever need to come through and add service at a future date, they want to have that ability without doing that. But they will pay you for that land back. So it's not like you're just giving up what was there. There will be some kind of agreement held at that point. Hopefully we can figure out how to work within those confines of making that trail connection still work.
Yeah, I missed that part about they'll pay you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
And that's an instrument that people have been using across the nation for about a decade now. It's been very historically difficult to work with the railroad, but that is one means that they have given us to come to an agreement, essentially, to use those corridors. And to your point, Monica, Councilwoman Peters, excuse me, she serves on my committee, so I feel like I'm familiar. We've been very lucky because some of these rail companies don't get back to some of these jurisdictions within about a 10-year project timeframe. But for us to be this far along with these talks, we feel very lucky. And a lot of it's been to the effort of Councilwoman Peters and some of our senior management. So we're in a good shape to work with that rail company.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Well, I'll make one more comment before we adjourn, so, because I know people will want to ask questions, but I just, we've had conversations with staff, and all 9 of us on council and our entire staff, we want to be a creative city, and we want to, incorporate public art, throughout the entire city, and different areas will, different looks will go in different areas. So I just want everyone to know that whatever that looks like, we'll look with other municipalities, whether it's, starting a commission, a public art commission, or working with partners. But I just want you to know that we want to be a creative city, and that's part of our whole, plan for the future. So I feel really good about that. So thank you all for taking the time to be here. And if there's no further things, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Run today.